When and why have you decided to invest in this field that now we call green economy? And the second question, and I leave the floor to you, is this worth, in spite of the backlashes, in spite of the criticism, or not?
But listen, I wanted to, since I was a child, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And to be entirely honest, I crossed the environmental trajectory by coincidence. I was at university, it was 91, and I wanted to be hired by McKinsey. It was the hardest challenge possible. And to have a possibility, I decided to do a thesis about something nobody knew anything about, which was environmental trends. And since 34 years, progressively, I have understood that regardless of all the ethical, whatever concept, this is the biggest revolution in the history of the economy. It's going to last the next few centuries, because it's going to take a long time to find the balance between what humans need from this planet and what this planet can cope with. And so progressively, I first became an entrepreneur by launching businesses, and then I wanted more money because I wanted to do more things. And if you want money and you don't have it, you need to ask third party. That's why Ambienta was born 18 years ago. And I think that progressively we became probably the global leader in investing in this field.
And we are particularly proud as Italians that we have this, and start with this initiative that now is global, but it started from Italy. So what do you think about the situation? We spoke about uncertainties, we spoke about USA change of direction, we spoke about many difficulties and people attacking the green economy, people criticizing this, but from the finance point of view, you are of course are an expert, and you speak with many people around the world, entrepreneurs and finance people. Which is your perception of this particular time?
But listen, let's have an historical perspective. Finance discovered the green kind of 20 years ago. At the beginning, it was called clean tech, which was kind of trying to replicate in the environmental area what had been successfully done in the tech internet era. Then the United Nations published the SDGs, which were very general principles, but some people pretended to transform them into an investment strategy. Then some others created the ESG acronym, that to me is just how to manage a company in a more civilized way, regardless of what the company does. But many people try to transform that as well. Then it went even more theoretical, impact, purpose, etc., etc. Progressively in these 20 years, all allocators, investors, pension funds, insurance, banks, families, globally started to invest into this trend more and more and more. Now, 20 years later, let's see what happened. We invested all together, liquid, illiquid, private markets, public markets, something that my best guess is 400 trillion. I could be wrong. It could be 300, 200, 500. But we are talking about an amount of money which is
huge.
I mean, with 400 trillion, I can build a new planet, okay? Just to make things clear. Where did this money go? Because of all that SDG, ESG, impact, purpose stuff, my best guess is 80%, could be 75%, but the vast majority of that money...
That much?
75, 80% of the money went into things that have nothing to do with green. Education, healthcare, wellness, gender diversity, all very nice things, and actually in some cases very good investment. But I think that any human would understand that they have nothing to do with green. If we look at what happened into the green area, made exception to the money that went into very plain vanilla investment, which is the renewable infrastructure. I done my first wind farms in 99. That's a very plain vanilla. You invest, you have 9-10% IRR. It's fine. The vast majority, 99% of the money, went into developing new solutions. Now, developing new environmental solutions, unfortunately, is not really connected much to software, digital, because there is a few, but it's a real minority. The vast majority, it's hardware, new materials, new equipment, things that, so we are kind of talking about, actually we are talking about industrial innovation. And in my career, I had the privilege of dealing with a lot of R&D centers, the Pirelli labs, the Telecom labs. And unfortunately, industrial innovation is an uncertain journey, and typically it's longer than expected and it costs more. And that is a very bad fit with a financial product, a fund that has defined a time frame to invest. So as a matter of fact, to make a long story short, 20 years after this has started, there is not one single manager on planet Earth. And I have investors in Asia, I have investors in US, South America, the Middle East. There is not one single investor, manager in the world that was able to deploy money into new solutions, early stage, late stage, venture growth, for a decent period of time, delivering a decent return. Not one. So that has been an amazing loss of money. So if you look at those two things, you may understand why investors are skeptical at the moment. Because on one hand, they thought they were investing in green. And just to make one example, a big investor made to me in New York a few weeks ago, I thought I was investing in green, and the first investment was a gym in the Midwest whose purpose was helping overweighted women to be better, which is probably a good thing, but has nothing to do with green. And the other ones in venture capital, they basically all lost money. You have very few cases. You have Tesla, you have others, but it's just, a little bit. Ambiental success is based on the fact that in the last, since humans understood pollution, not only climate change, waste, water, the quality of the air, etc., started to develop solutions. And in the last 50, 60, 70 years, we have been developing a lot of solutions. And you know what? We are not using it at the scale that we should. We know how to recycle PET plastic since more than 20 years. We recycle around 15% of that. We all talk about how big the water issue is. We pollute water in residential, industrial, agriculture. Altogether, we recycle less than 2%. We know how to reduce the energy consumption of lighting, which represents 50%, 1/5 of the electricity bill on the planet. And LED can reduce it by 70%. I'm talking about 10% of the electricity bill of the planet. It's gigantic. Europe is the only continent where LED is above 50% adoption. Everybody else is at 15, 20. So we have been focusing on growing and scaling existing technologies with two very nice features. The first one, these are companies that are profitable because what they do allow them to conquer market share. They grow 3 times faster than the economy. And if you grow faster, you deliver very good financial returns. Okay? So just to give you a number, Ambiental's portfolio today, each year is producing more than $500 million of free cash flow. So we are not talking about flower power stuff. This is real industrial stuff. The other thing is that you can deliver real environmental impact. Because we have a company that is able to reduce by 5% the fuel consumption of tractors. But if you expand that to almost all the tractors around,
yes,
your impact is gigantic. And
yes.
I think that and you deliver real impact because 5% in real economy is much better than 100% solution that stays in a lab, because it's kind of useless with respect to the impact.
Very good. Yes. Thanks very much, Nino. Can I just thank you for this, because this particularly a critical view, I think it's a very good way of taking into pragmatism what green economy should be about. It's true that in many companies, Nino, we have here in Ecomondo hundreds of companies. Many companies use a lot the indicators, the ESG, but in reality, we think that the real difference is done by the ones who are really implementing projects in reality now, even by reducing only 5%, but now, and the ones who are taking commitments for a long time or taking some very broad analysis without doing anything now. So the pragmatism to me that you are telling us is the technologies are there. Most of them, they can be implemented, and we don't have to reinvent the wheel in many cases, but we should do it in the short period and now. So this, in your view, something that it's happening and can happen? So even somebody like Trump or somebody criticizing maybe can take some benefit by giving a boost to the ones who really want to do it now. Is this your view?
Let's talk about real stuff. What do we do? And I can only talk about what Ambienta is doing. We create factories to recycle plastic. We have water pumps and a lot of solutions to manage water better all around the world. We replace chemical ingredient in food and beverage with natural one. We replace the big gas boilers that are at the core of the manufacturing plant with electric ones. We are creating a global footprint for biostimulants replacing fertilizers, etc., etc., etc. Those things are not affected by politicians. They are real businesses that are conquering market share in their field. And you know what? Biden didn't help us. Trump is not jeopardizing. To me, is completely all these narrative. But listen, I think there is a lot of something I've never understood. Environmental issues to me are the most important issues that each human being has, and I've never understood why should they be leftish and therefore the rightish should be. I mean, this is political. Shouldn't be affecting industries. And by the way, the solutions are not going to be developed by flower power politicians. The solutions will only be developed by companies. Number one. Number two, the average profit margin of all our companies, the one to which we lend money, the one to which we own, 20%. So this year, Ambienta, so far, and I think we're going to be higher, has already invested more than $1 billion. Only our money, which means that more or less we mobilize 3 billion, and we have already. So I'm talking about real stuff, which honestly is not affected by Trump. And one thing on the European community. Instead of talking about all that money, the European community should do what they have been fantastic at doing when I started in the 90s. They were very brave. They started to do law that affected the way a chemical company was managed, cars, a Euro 6 diesel is. Today, we have, for instance, we are engaged in plastic recycling. We own the Ferrari, the core of each plastic recycling plant. We are booming in Africa. We are booming in India. We're actually growing in the US, which is the only continent which is completely stopped.
I can imagine.
Plastic. You know why? Because the Green Deal is a lot of blah, blah, blah. They haven't implemented a law on plastic recycling, and the framework which they just approved doesn't even have penalties, so that the hundreds of plants that were planned to be built in Europe are all on waiting list at the moment. We are still waiting for a law on fertilizers. So instead of talking about money that then goes into useless stuff, hydrogen, things that are against the environment, they should rule the economy as they have done in the early 90s. Europe, when I started, was at the far front of this. We had 80-90% of the environmental technology globally. If you now do the same exercise, you know where 80-90% of those technologies are. In China. because they don't speak blah, 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 von der Leyen, Green Deal, all these conferences. We need action, guys, because the planet is not waiting.